All right. How's everybody feeling? Good. I'm excited about being here, and it really, truly, we come to learn as much as we give. I mean, we are going to give all we got. We'll give our A game, but Primerica is a wonderful thing, to be able to, and I mean this. I'm not one of these corny guys, but really and truly, I mean, let me tell you, I started here to make money. It was for money is why I came here, okay? And I mean that. I mean, I was a 23-year-old young male, and when they talked about, oh, we help people here, I mean, honestly, in the beginning, my first week, that meant nothing to me. I wanted to make money. That's why I work. I work for money. They say money's not everything, and the truth is, when you don't have money, money is everything. Growing up, when my dad lost his job, he was in the savings and loans industry, and they didn't lay people off. The whole industry went gone. So it's not like his company went. Every company went, and for 10 years he was out of a job. And when we didn't have money, money was where we lived, what car we drove, where I went to school, what I wore when I went to school, where we went out to eat, what we ordered when we went out to eat, when we vacationed, where we vacationed, how long we vacationed, whether my spouse worked, what schools we were looking at going to after high school. Money was all that. But the truth of the matter is, they're right. Money's not everything. Once you have money, you realize money is not everything. But only then did I realize that. Because growing up the way I grew up, which is I'm sure a lot of the ways the people in this room grew up, you couldn't tell me money wasn't everything. My parents are great people. And when they fought, 98% of the time they fought about what? You couldn't tell me money wasn't everything. But now you start getting a little bit of money, and you realize that there are more important things in life once you have money. Once you no longer have to worry about money, right, you get to start thinking about other things, and you realize some of the greatest benefits of Primerica are way more important than money. The things, just the person that I've become, for one. I've become a better leader, a better communicator, a better public speaker, I became more disciplined. I have a better work ethic. I care more about people. And so, people pay tens of thousands of dollars to get better in each of those areas, to become a better public speaker, to become a better leader. People pay thousands of dollars for that, But one of the things that I really and truly enjoy is the relationships. I honestly, I've never been to Dallas before. I guess it was about 6 months ago. I came, hung out with Charles Whitener. Built a great relationship with Charles Whitener. I've always talked, and this is one of the points that I wanted to bring up was, me being from Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, we used to hear about the greats in Primerica, and we would talk about them almost like we were trading baseball cards, Hey, I'll trade you one Bill Arender for a Hector, and we used to talk, like we would trade tapes, Hey, look, I'll give you the 94 Hector for the 2002 Mike Sharp, and I say that because I want you guys to know that at the top of that list was Bill Arender. At the top, and now, again, 23-year-old punk kid that knew nothing about nothing. But, man, when I heard Bill Arender speak, that guy was special. He had a knowledge that few possess. He had a communication skills that... So the point is, do not take it for granted. Don't take it for granted what you guys have. Heed the advice, listen to the instruction, and most importantly, go out and do action. But it is a great business to be a part of. The relationships you build. Again, Dallas, again, I'm from Washington. Okay? I had a shirt when I was 4 years old. It said my two favorite teams, Washington Redskins and whoever plays Dallas. Hail to the Redskins, hail Victor. I'm just kidding. Hey, listen, I am excited to be here, and I can tell you, as you know, growing up in this business, you know I have a lot to learn. I was 23 years old, young punk kid that knew nothing about nothing. You know, I'm still a young punk kid that knows nothing about nothing. But now 70 grand a month comes into my bank account, so it's, you know, a little bit of a better position. You know, I still have a lot to learn. But I remember, you know, some of the things when I was first getting started in this business. You know, I saw a lot of people in the back, you know, hands folded, you know, thinking, oh, I know, you know, like, when are we gonna learn about investments? Or, you know, I thought this was a financial company. All they're talking about is goals, dreams, vision, stuff like this. And, you know, what I realized was not I was right and everybody else was wrong, but what I realized was I was wrong and everybody else was right, right? Because think about this. If you read a book written by Bill Gates, you know what what they say is less than 7% of success is product knowledge. If you read a book by Bill Gates about how to be successful and how to win in business, less than 7% of that book is going to be about software development, how to have software, and about computers. If you read a book by Vince Lombardi about what it takes to be number one, less than 7% will be about the X's and O's of football and how to run a dive to the three-hole. You know, when you read a book written by Michael Jordan, you're going to see less than 7% is going to be about basketball, the X's and O's in basketball. If you read a book by Ray Kroc, less than 7% will be about how to make a hamburger. True or false? Because the things that it takes to win in life, whether it's sports, entertainment, or business, is not product knowledge, but the intangibles. You read those books, and one of the first chapters is always vision or goals. You got to know where you're going. You gotta want to go there, right? And it's amazing because I'm sitting there thinking that, you know, I can't believe how many people will come up and say, Brett, we need to do this in training. You know, we need more of this. It's like, well, if you knew what you needed, you'd already be there. You'd be the teacher, not the student, right? And so what I realized was maybe, just maybe, Bill Gates was right, Michael Jordan was right, Ray Kroc was right, and I was wrong. Maybe. At 23, I realized that maybe, just maybe, everything I knew about making money was wrong. Because I had never been taught by someone that actually knew what I wanted to know. You know, I come from a great family, but nobody in my life was a multimillionaire. And if my goal was to be a multimillionaire, it's impossible to learn something from someone that doesn't know it. So I had to relearn everything I wanted to know. And it's amazing the drasticness, the drastic change that had to take place. You know, I had to learn business, not from teachers, but I had to learn business from businessmen. And as I started learning about that, that's what I realized was that there was a lot to learn about the intangibles, about work ethic, about, you know, setting goals and having vision and things like that. You know, one of the things that I've read about is how you got to have tough skin. You can't let people get to you. I really think as I look around and see a lot of people, the reason they never go over the hump is they're too worried about what other people think. You know, this business, you know, it requires tough skin, but every business requires tough skin. You know, I think about, that's why reading biographies about these guys are so good. Because, you know, mine, when I'm thinking to myself, trying to feel sorry for myself, you know, which we all do, we try to feel sorry for ourselves, right? But if you read a biography about somebody, they've always had it worse, you know. And I'm like, oh, you know, I talked to two people, they both said no. And I start feeling sorry for myself, you know. And then you read Colonel Sanders, the guy that stroked a bit with, you know, KFC. And he went to 1,318 restaurants and heard the word no until the 1,319th. So you can call that a slump, I guess. It's a lot bigger slump than I've ever been on. I don't know if I would be able to take that many no's in a row. You know, but you see that and you're like, man, what a wuss. I'm glad I didn't say that out loud, you know. And you hear, you know, talks about working hard. I can't believe how many people will say, hey, I deserve the weekend off, or I deserve time off. And then you read Bill Gates, In the first 7 years of Microsoft, Bill Gates took off 2 days. So let's assume both those days were Christmas. He worked 5 Christmases, 7 Easters, 7 Thanksgivings, 7 July 4ths, 7 Mother's Day, 7 Father's Day, every Sunday, every Saturday, every single day for 7 years. Now, I'm not going to work Christmas and I'm not going to work Easter. That's just me. But maybe that's not why. Maybe that's why I'll never be worth $50 billion. But hey, I'll take my Christmases and Easters and settle for $5 billion. What do you think? I mean, the point is, though, I mean, you see how, oh, man, I really worked hard. Well, compared to what? Compared to what I was working, yes. But not compared to the world class. Not compared to the standard of the world class. Compared to the standard of my knucklehead friends, yes. But compared to the standard of the world class, no. And that's why it's so important. Because, see, you are who you hang with. My parents always would tell me, right? And so if I'm sitting here hanging out with the guy that's making 30, 40, 45, 50, 35, all my friends are right around there, and I make 75 grand, I'm making a lot of money a year, right? Look, they make 40, I make 75 grand. So when someone says, are you making a lot of money? I say, what? Yeah. How much is a lot? Well, 75 a year. Why? Well, because my friend makes 40. But if I was around Bill Arinder, Bill Gates, Bill Whittle, just to keep with the Bills, and I was all with these guys, and they go, hey, so how much you make? I make 75. And they go, is that a month or a week? And I go, so it's amazing how we don't see things how it is. We see things based on how our perception tells us to see them, right? So it's a good thing and a bad thing because you can shape that perception. You can shape that reality. See, one of the biggest mistakes people make is they're too afraid of what other people might say. For example, I read a book, the magazine Success magazine, the one with Magic Johnson on the cover. Raise your hand if you saw that one, Magic Johnson on the cover, Success magazine. Great. So I read that article, and what a great article. He was a phenomenal basketball player. He's going on to have a great business career. And Magic Johnson got hooked up with the best businessman in L.A. And the first thing that business owner told him, this great businessman in L.A. told a great basketball player who wanted to get into business, he said, if you even want a chance of winning in American business, you have to be willing to utilize every person you know. The people you know are the biggest asset, and you must be willing to utilize them. That's what the number one thing the best businessman in L.A. taught Magic Johnson. Because it's not what you know, it's... But see, people come in, they'll say, do I got to talk to my friends and family? And this is important. Now, let me tell you. This is, the trainer has to be tough on that regard. Because they'll say, hey, my aunt said no. My aunt said no, and they want to blame it on their trainer. They want to blame it on the script. They want to blame it on the office. They want to blame it on the RVP. But you want to know whose fault it is that the aunt said no? Their fault. Ooh, I don't know if I like this guy. No, it's their fault. Why? I'll tell you. Because you know what that aunt's thinking and that friends or family are thinking, right? Because if you had your cousin, your friend, your family, and you said, hey, man, we're friends, we're family, right? I mean, we're supposed to be there for each other. I mean, if my relationship, if I broke up with my girlfriend and I needed someone to talk to for 30 minutes, you'd be there for me, right? Oh, yeah, well, I'd be there for you. And if somebody in my family died and I needed someone to talk to, someone to have a cup of coffee with, if I was really hurting inside and I needed 30 minutes with someone, you'd be there for me, right? Oh, yeah, I'd be there for you. Well, why aren't you there for me now, brother? And they'd say what? I didn't know it was that. It's your fault because you haven't shown how important it was. See, when I talk to my friends and family, I let them know this is that important to me. I mean, how many things in life you got? Who you call God, who you call your spouse, and really what occupation you go. Those are three very important things in life. I let them know this is not something I'm trying out. This is something I'm doing. This is how I'm going to feed my family. This is how I'm going to feed my wife. This is how I'm going to pay my mortgage, pay my cars. I'm expecting you to be there for me, And so I didn't ask them. I told them. Because the truth is, they would do the same thing with me. I had buddies that started businesses. They expected me not just to check it out. They expected me to do business. Let your cousin or your friend start a restaurant, and you don't go for 6 months. Let's say they start a steakhouse, and over the next 6 months, you go to Morton's, Ruth's Chris, you go to Outback, all these places. He finds out over the last 6 months, you've ate at 10 different steakhouses and never even came to his place. You think he's going to be cool with that? No. He's like, yo, cousin, I thought, you didn't even stop by. I would have gave you a free appetizer, man. What's wrong with you? You didn't even, right? I had a friend that was in a band. He came at me like, dude, man, you got to be there. I get paid by the head, and if we hit 200, they'll bring us up where we have a gig every week, man. You got to be there for me. I don't care. You don't have to stay, but come in, let them count your head, and then leave, man. You got to be there for me, man. Because it was important to him that his band was successful. But, one of the things is when someone says that to me, do I have to talk to my friends and family? I want to really know that because probably I'm not going to work with them. You want to know why? Because I got interviewed with Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley was telling me about how great Morgan Stanley was. And one of the first things they said was, we don't deal with clients that have a net worth of less than $1 million. We don't do with mutual fund trades less than 100 grand. And I was thinking to myself, even if all my friends and all my family and everybody I knew pulled all their money all together, it still probably wouldn't be 100 grand. And he looked at me and he says, well, I mean, we'll talk to upper management, but you might be able to deal with your immediate family, but only your immediate family, like only your parents, and you won't get compensated for it. So at Morgan Stanley, I couldn't help my family. So when I came here and they showed me pretty much the same software package, the same products, but even better because more diversity of products. We deal with more mutual fund families than Morgan Stanley does. And I saw the same products, the same deal, the same software. My question was not, do I have to talk to my friends and family? Coming from Morgan Stanley, my question was this: do I get to talk to my friends and family? Do I get to help them? Can I help my family? Can I help my aunt and uncle? Think about the difference. When I came in, I knew how important financial and F&A was. I knew how important getting advice on investments were. I knew how important that was. And I was coming from a company that didn't let me talk to my friends and family. So my question was, do I get to help my friends and family? And see, if somebody thinks, do I have to? Well, then you must not be in the same business I'm in. Because this business, the one I'm in, is beneficial. The one that I'm in helps people, right? And if you don't look at this as something that's helping your friends and family, if you're looking at this as a burden to your friends and family, then I probably shouldn't train you. I'm going to go find someone that understands the value of financial advice. Does that make sense? But I'll tell you, one of the things is, once I decided, I wanted to be a business owner, it's amazing, because think about this. If I just bought a McDonald's, I just bought a franchise McDonald's, how's everybody going to treat you? If you come home and you just inked a deal for McDonald's, everybody's going to look at you as what? The Mac Daddy, the big baller, the businessman, right? They're going to be surprised, right? Especially some of you guys are like, what? How'd you do that, right? But honestly, they're going to treat you as, higher up. I don't know why business owners get street cred, but they get street cred. You own a business? Ooh, I don't know why it is, but women are attracted to business owners. Men respect business owners, right? It's a respectable deal, I guess. And so if you say, yeah, I just bought my first McDonald's, you told everybody, they're going to be like, ooh, I didn't know you had it like that, man. Go on, play it, man. Woo. And they'll even try to sneak in and maybe say, hey, look, we always been great friends. We've actually been more like partners. And maybe we can work something out, man, 50-50. Okay, 80-20. Okay, fine, I'll take 5%. What do you think, buddy? They'll try to go in with you. Now, you just bought it, so you still have a lot of work to do. You know, you still got to get the vendors in place and organize that, negotiate the contracts. You still got to hire some people to do it. But you've bought the business, and they've looked at you as almost an elevated person now that you're a business owner. But you come back and say the same thing. Hey, I just signed a contract with Primerica. I'm getting ready to own my own Primerica office. It's going to be great. And they don't treat you the same way. And so you act differently because they don't regard it the same. Shame on you if you change your thoughts and actions based on how someone else responds to you. Let me ask you a question. Which one's going to make you more money? Owning a Primerica office or a McDonald's? A McDonald's yields about 17 to 19%. The average McDonald's will give you about 150 to about 190,000 a year, which is great. But if you run a $30,000 base shop in Primerica, you're going to be making $250,000 a year. So you'll make more money every year running a Primerica office. What about the asset? The average McDonald's sells for what? About $1 million. The average Primerica office would sell for $2 to $5 million. If you were running a $30,000, if you were an SVP, $3 million. Let me ask you this: which one helps society better? Serving grade F meat and French fries with oil, or helping people get out of debt, save money, and get their finances in order? Which one's better for society? Okay, which one's more prestigious? Serving up French fries, and I'm not knocking it, or having an investment license? Which one's more prestigious? Investment. The financial business. So let me get this straight. A Primerica office would make you more money every year. It would be worth more of an asset. It helps people more, and it's more prestigious. But because your friends think it's not as good of a McDonald's, you don't treat it as good of a McDonald's. That's so hilarious how somebody would let their friends have that much control over them. That because they would treat you like a king if you bought a McDonald's, but they don't regard the same way as a Primerica, we actually change. Our actions change. The way we exude confidence changes. Because if we bought a McDonald's, we'd almost beat on our chest. I own a McDonald's, But now we don't say the same thing about Primerica. Have you heard of Primerica? People will talk about how do you recruit 100 people. I promise you the thing that goes through my head is how do you not recruit 100 people? I promise you. Because think about this. If McDonald's called you up and said, hey, listen, we got a deal for you. We want you to go find people to buy a McDonald's. And every person you get to buy a McDonald's, we'll pay you $75,000 a year. Every year that office is open and profitable. Now, would you be excited? Yeah, there's a waiting list to buy McDonald's, okay? So there's more demand than supply. So if you had that deal where you go find someone to buy a McDonald's for $1 million, you would get paid $75,000 as a result every year, you'd be jacked up, right? Because if you just sold 10 McDonald's, you'd be making $750,000 a year for the rest of your life, permanent income. All you got to do is send Christmas cards, right? You'd be jacked up. But what if they called back and said, wait a minute, Bill, we've given people that opportunity before. We really like you, and we're going to give you a special opportunity. Every McDonald's you sell, we'll pay you $75,000 a year every year. That McDonald's is open and profitable. But instead of selling the McDonald's for $1 million, we'll let you sell it for $99. What would you do? You would think you hit the lottery. True or false? See, if you went to your friends and family and said, look, here's a McDonald's. You can have it right on the corner of Main Street and 123rd, right? You can have this. You can get this and only cost you $99. What you'd say is like, look, man, get one for you, get one for your wife, get one for your kids. Matter of fact, it's a good Christmas gift. It's a good wedding gift. You're going to have two-way, buy one, get one free, right? And if you ever ran across somebody that you were explaining about how they could buy a McDonald's for $99 and that person said no, what would be going through your head? Would you be like, oh, no, you'd be like, no, you must not have heard me. Hold on. Look, McDonald's, $99, right? You would have thought they didn't hear you, right? You must not have comprehended what I just said. you can own a McDonald's for $99. True or false? And if they still didn't get it, would you feel bad for you or would you feel bad for them? Feel bad for them. Like, oh my gosh, you don't understand, you just missed the one opportunity of a life. I mean, you've been praying your whole life. You've been hoping and praying at night that, someone will come and bring an opportunity on your lap, and here it comes. I'm delivering this opportunity, and you're missing it. Trust me, $99 is nothing for a McDonald's. Please, come on, for your family. And you'd start feeling bad for them. If that's how you'd feel selling McDonald's is, and a Primerica office would give you more money every year, it would be a bigger asset, it helps people more, and it's more prestigious, then shouldn't you feel like that more when you're giving a Primerica office opportunity? I promise you, in the beginning, when I understood what this was, I'd want to take my friends up by their neck and say, what don't you get? What don't you see? Are you crazy? Because the fact is, if they don't see it, either I'm blind or they're blind. Either I'm wrong or they're wrong. And I'm not wrong. We aren't wrong. I mean, I'm wrong in a lot of things. I am. But this isn't one of them. This is the best business opportunity in America. And just because they don't see it has nothing to do if this is really the best business opportunity. So in the beginning, I wanted to take them by the neck and choke them out. But now, I feel bad for them. Like, you're really not going to give this a shot. The largest and most lucrative industry. The top IPO in the New York Stock Exchange backing it up. An opportunity where you can own and operate your own brokerage in the most practical products known to man, with all the relationships with the top financial companies, the Fidelities and the Americans and all these guys, and you can do it for a refundable $99, and you don't want to give it a shot? Man, I feel so bad for you. The only reason why people don't feel like that, though, is because of how other people respond. Again, either we're right and they're wrong, or they're right and we're wrong. We're not wrong. So if you took that same mentality to it and you truly didn't let anybody affect your thoughts, you would be so much more efficient and effective because of the confidence that came out of your pores, that came out of your mouth, that came out of your mind, because people don't follow Primerica, they follow you. And if you had that same confidence as if you just owned a McDonald's, the amount of people that would follow you would be consuming. You wouldn't have a problem of who am I going to see. Your problem is, how can I get to all these people? All because of one thing changes, and how you're looking at your own business. When I first started in business, I took a look at a couple of different things. If we can throw up a couple slides. One of the things, next one. Next one. Next one. One of the things that I look at business, you can go to the next one. The business doesn't pay you money for hindsight. It pays you money for foresight, right? Hindsight's 20/20. Everybody has it, and they won't pay you a dime for it. But foresight, you can make big money for foresight. If you get ahead of the curve, if you get ahead of the S-curve, you can make a lot of money. See, every company and every business goes through 4 phases. The Harvard Business Review studied every company, every business, and said it goes through 4 phases. The first one is the embryonic phase. It looks like an S-curve. It looks like this. The first one is the embryonic phase. That's when it's an idea. It's a business plan. It's an embryo. It's just an idea. The second phase is the infant phase. You're breaking ground, you're getting started. You maybe have one location or two locations. And then the next one is the growth phase. That's where 90% of the growth happens. The fourth one is the mature phase. So it starts to mature. It starts to kind of stagnate, if you will. And obviously, what we've seen over the last 40 years is McDonald's, one of the best business opportunities for the average American. What was it, 40 years ago, the first McDonald's sold for $5,000. Now, the average one sells for $1 million. That would have been a good business to be in 40 years ago, true or false? But now, it's kind of stagnated. Right now, the average McDonald's goes for $1 million. But 7 years ago, guess what the average McDonald's went for? About $1 million. So over the last 7 years, the appreciation is not there. As a matter of fact, you go to McDonald's Corporation now, they don't even sell appreciation. What they sell is the yield. What they'll tell you is you can yield 15, 19% off that money, which is good, but they don't even talk about appreciation because it's not going to do the same thing. Whatever the return is from 5,000 to $1 million, it's not going to go from $1 million to $5 billion, right? It's not going to do that again. The growth is done. Doesn't mean you can't make money. It just means it has stagnated a little bit. Okay, if you can go to the next slide. The point is, though, think about this. You must have foresight. If you went up to your friends and family now and you said you were buying a McDonald's, they'd give you the 2 thumbs up. That's awesome. I didn't know you had it like that. But what they're really telling you is not that it's going to be a good opportunity. What they're telling you is that it's already been a good opportunity. Nobody right now can look you in the eye and say, no, McDonald's, that was a terrible idea. That just sucks as an opportunity. No one can say that. But what they're using is not foresight. They're using hindsight. They've seen it. It happened. It's over. It's been a good opportunity. It's not going to be one. It's been one. Does that make sense? But if you rewound the clock and went up to that same friend of yours, that same uncle of yours 40 years ago. Matter of fact, let's say Ray Kroc went up to that broke friend of yours. Now remember, Ray Kroc was a 52-year-old diabetic with gray hair, wild eyes, and his profession was a milkshake machine salesman, and he did it out of his car. So it's not really that big of a business guru, right? I mean, he's selling milkshake machines out of a car. And so he comes in and he says, I figured it out. I found it. We're going to revolutionize the world. Now, remember, this was at a time when there were no chain restaurants. You didn't see the same restaurants in multiple towns. It was all mom and pop stuff. So he comes and he says, I figured it out. We're going to revolutionize American business. The ripple effects of our business are going to change the world. They're going to be reading about it in every university, in every school, in every business school on the planet. We're going to create, 35,000 locations. We're going to create millions of jobs for high schoolers and immigrants. We're going to create millionaires out of tens of thousands of average American families. We're going to change the world, and we're going to do it by selling a 15-cent hamburger, and all you have to do is give me $5,000 right now, and you'll be one of the first owners. What is your broke friend going to say? Get this crazy guy out of my living room. True or false? A lot of people, they want to miss it, but they missed that McDonald's opportunity. They missed it. My family was around in the, 50s, 60s. They could have bought a McDonald's. They just didn't. All the time, people pray about being in the right place at the right time. But that's not good enough. You got to be the right person at the right place at the right time. Listen to me, guys. Now, my family was in America when McDonald's sold for $5,000. And yes, $5,000 was more money back then than it was now, but everybody could have got their hands on $5,000. Everybody. They just missed it. Hey, I was in Northern Virginia in 92, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They used to call it the Junior Silicon Valley. I could have started an IT company and sold it. I just didn't. Dan Snyder did. Mark Cuban did. The Google boys did. I didn't. Right place, right time, wrong person. I was in Northern Virginia in 99, 2000, 01, 02, 03, 04. I was in South Florida in 05, 06. I could have started a real estate company and sold it. I just didn't. People made millions in real estate, but I didn't. I made nothing. Right place, right time, wrong person. Why is that so important? Because if you're always thinking about place and time, you will never fix it. You will never be wealthy. Because if you're so worried about the situation, you've been in the perfect situation before, if there's ever such. Man, 1995, perfect situation to start an IT company. 2000, perfect chance to start a title company. a real estate company, mortgage company, and sold it 3 years later. We just missed it. Why? Right place, right time, wrong person. Guys, until I realized that it was me, that the variable that was blowing it was me, I had no chance of being successful. If I always kept thinking about the wrong place and the wrong time, and I never really went to the root of the issue was me. The reason why it wasn't working was me. If I change me, we get successful. If I keep changing the time and place, I'm never going to be successful. Does that make sense? See, I see all the time people are thinking, oh, well, if I could just get into another office or another team or another state or another place, or if I was back when Art Williams was here, or if I was if I was in back when Mike Sharp Bass Shot was doing, if I was at this place or this time, oh, I really would have done it. But you wouldn't. The thing that matters was changing me. What they say is life is 3% of what happens to you and 97% what you do about it. So if we can go put the slide back on, the same thing happened to real estate. Over the last 40 years, we've seen real estate sales explode. But obviously about 4 years ago, it hit a wall. It stagnated. It was done growing. But over the last 40 years, you could have made some big money on it. The point is, most people missed it because they didn't have foresight. They had hindsight. But let's take a look at how these two businesses came about. Because what is real estate's product? What is RE/MAX's product? Property, real estate, right? What is McDonald's product? Food, burgers, right? So two totally different products. Now, again, the two best business opportunities over the last 40 years, in my opinion, were the brokerage industry made popular by real estate and RE/MAX, and the franchise opportunity made popular by McDonald's, right? Again, I know that a lot of these wealthy people started, they made a chip or, like software, but to me that takes a special person. I'm not going to come up with some computer program, okay? But if I got into buying a McDonald's 40 years ago, I'd like to think I'd be worth $1 million today. If I actually got into real estate sales 40 years ago, I'd like to think I'd be worth $1 million today. Does that make sense? So an average person could have got into these businesses and been successful and made millions. Let's take a look at how it worked. Can we throw the slides on? So Ray Kroc and Mr. RE/MAX. Ray Kroc and Mr. RE/MAX went out to build an empire. They went out to build a huge company. They went out to build the biggest company in that industry. RE/MAX wanted to sell more houses and more property than anybody else. McDonald's, Ray Kroc, wanted to go out and sell more burgers than anybody else. So here we are. Mr. RE/MAX, his goal is to create a real estate empire, to sell more houses than anybody on planet Earth. That's what his goal was, to sell more houses than anybody. Did he go out and sell the houses? No. Why not? I mean, his goal was to sell more houses. How come he didn't sell houses? Because if it was only him, how many houses could he sell at the same time? One. How many open houses can he be in at the same time? One. So what he did was what? He recruited brokers. Did the brokers sell the house? No. Pyramid went even further. Brokers hired agents. And it was the agents that sold the houses. True or false? Right now, I know if a broker has like multiple offices and 500 agents, there will be different levels of leadership. Maybe a store manager or an area manager or something like that, but the simplistic version is that. So what you have is big business owner recruited small business owner recruited agent. That's what happened. Small business owner recruited salesman. Now, a good real estate agent could have made, 50, 100 grand a year. Great broker, $250,000 to $500,000 a year. RE/MAX, $1 billion or more a year. People would say, well, yeah, Brett, but that's just the brokerage business. Okay, let's look at Ray Kroc. Totally different industry, totally different company, but they wanted to build a burger empire. Did Ray Kroc go out and sell the burger and flip the burger? No. He went out and recruited people we refer to as operators or franchisees. Do the franchisee flip the burger and serve the burger? No. They recruit people and pay them $10 an hour to flip it, $10 an hour to serve it, and $30,000 a year to manage it. Big business owner recruits small business owner recruits employee. True or false? Now again, check this out. I know if a franchise owner owns, 5, 10, 50 different locations. There's one guy in Florida that owns 248 McDonald's. Well, if he has that big of an organization, he's going to have multiple levels of leadership. He's going to have a store manager, true? Store manager, area manager, general manager. But let's just keep it simple. Big business owner recruits small business owner recruits employee. That's how it worked. That's not kind of how it worked. That's how it worked. Now, let me explain, though, why I was at such a disadvantage. Why was I at such a disadvantage in American business? You want to know why? I remember hearing Joe Inser say, if you were born in China, you'd speak Chinese. And it took me a while to understand what it meant. It sounded cool, but I didn't know what it really meant. What it meant was even me, Anglo, white, Caucasian, if I was born in China, I'd have a different culture, I'd speak a different language, true or false. In essence, part of me would be totally different. But I wasn't born in China. I was born in the middle class America. And the middle class America speaks a different language than the wealthy class of America. See, I want you guys to know every single person I knew, not almost every person I knew was at the bottom of these organizations. I had a bunch of friends that were employees, and I had a bunch of friends that were salesmen. Right? I had friends that were employees. Now, I don't care if the money comes from McDonald's or Microsoft. I had friends that worked at retail. I had friends that worked at Google and Oracle and the federal government, okay? But they were employees. And then I had friends that were salesmen. They sold cars. They sold jewelry. They sold phones. They sold phones accessories. They sold phone services. They sold real estate. They sold insurance. Some of my friends sold import-export, They sold different stuff. So I had a lot of friends that were employees. I had a lot of friends that were salesmen. But that's where I hung out. Those were my friends. Those were my family. Why is that so important? Because, see, we don't see things as they are. We see them how we've been taught to see them. So because all of my friends and family are here, and I go up to them after I come from an op meeting, and I say, guys, man, you don't get it. I'm getting ready to own my own brokerage. I'm going to own my own business. I'm going to be a business owner. Brett's business owners, baby. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it. And the first thing middle-class people would say, because I go up to the happy hour where they're hanging out on Friday, right? I go to the happy hour, and they go, whoa, slow down, Turbo. Don't you think you should get a job first, buddy? Get some experience? Because, see, what is the middle class, anthem? If we want to be a business owner, this is what the middle class thinks. And it's so hilarious because every time I'm interviewing someone that's like 20 to 23 or anywhere between 18 and 23, and I say, do you want to be a business owner? They say yes. And I say, what's your plan? It's the same thing that I would have told you verbatim when I was 19, 20, 21. Well, I'm going to go to school and get my bachelor's degree in business. Then I'm going to go work for somebody for 2 to 3 years so I can get experience. Then I'm going to go back to school and get my MBA, master's in business. And then I'm going to go back and get another job at a higher corporation so I can get a couple more years of experience. And then I'm going to start a business. Isn't that how we think the way to go start a business is? The funniest thing is name one person, name one person that did it like that. Every person I've ever read about, that's not how they did it. Try this on. The best way to get experience working for yourself is working for yourself. See, I can't believe how I used to think that the best way to get experience to be a business owner is going to work at a corporation. Being an employee is never going to prepare me to be an employer, right? Every businessman I've said what they did was they started a business and it failed. They started a business and it failed, and then they started a business and it succeeded. So I go up to my friends. I say, no, you don't understand. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to be able to recruit some agents. They're going to make some sales, and they're going to do well. And they're like, Brett, man, I say, no, you don't get it, man. I'm going to be able to have my own brokerage. I can recruit you. You can recruit agents. You can have your own brokerage. And all of a sudden they go, one of those things. You're talking about recruiting. It must be one of those things. Red light goes off. Yeah, that's Amway. That's one of them things. That's Amway. What they're saying, they go, well, recruiting, that's crazy. Recruiting, that's crazy. But what they're really saying, they're saying recruiting is crazy, but what they really mean is they've never had any experience in recruiting. See, they've been the recruited, but they've never been on the other side of the desk. So trying to think of you being on that side, that's weird. It's crazy. It's abnormal. But see, we've all been recruited. We all know how to put the one and only suit we got on. We get a piece of paper that's like that thick with a hologram in the middle. We put our resume on it, right? And you know, Shaquille, he actually had a 2.3, but when it went on the resume, it said 3.2. It's typo. And all of a sudden, you know, we use language that we've never used and will never use again. We go into the interview and we sit in a way we've never sat. And we speak in a way, I'd like to utilize my ever-growing skills and an opportunity to move a company forward in a magnitude. And they say, well, what's your weakness? Well, my weakness, sir, is I'm a perfectionist. I just do everything perfect, right? And then we go out and we're like, I think I got that job, boy, I got that job. So we know how to get recruited, but we've never done the recruiting. So it's weird. It's not that it's crazy. It's not that that's not how it works. It's just I've never done it before, so it's abnormal. You shouldn't do it because I've never done it, so it's not normal. That's what that means. Even though they say recruiting that's crazy, what they're saying, what they really mean is they've never done it, so you probably shouldn't do it. It's weird. So that didn't go that well. But let's say for a second that instead of me being born in the middle class, that I was born in the wealthy. You saw Bill Render's neighborhood? Let's say I grew up in that neighborhood. I was at the country clubs. And there was a guy in there by the name of Bob the Broker. Okay? Bob the Broker had, you know, now remember, instead of my friends being employees and salesmen, my friends now, because I was wealthy, I was at the country clubs, my friend was Bob the Broker, Fred the franchise owner, Mr. Remax, and Ray Kroc. I knew them all. We were all tight. Okay? And Bob, now think about this. Bob was 40 years old. He was always home. He had the biggest house, the fastest cars. He had 28 cars. He had, he's always home. He's always playing golf. It was like he was the only 40-year-old. Everybody else was 60 on the golf course. He was always playing golf. He had a whole bunch of money. He had a whole bunch of time. His family life was great. He had all the toys. He had the deal. He was selling 200 houses out of his brokerage every single month. And so I came up to him and I say, Bob, I want to be just like you. Let me take you out to lunch. I go out to lunch with Bob. And I said, Bob, I know you're the biggest Remax brokerage in the East Coast. You know, I know you sell 200 houses every month, and I want to be just like you. But, you know, I just want you to know I just got my first brokerage in Fort Lauderdale, and I want to get some advice. But before you give me any advice, I just want you to know I'm not going to recruit any agents this year. And if I accidentally recruit an agent, I'm definitely not going to license them. What do you think Bob the broker is going to say? Think about it. He's going to say, how do you think I sell 200 houses and I'm on the golf course? I have 100 licensed agents. They're the ones selling the houses. If I didn't have the agents, I wouldn't be selling the houses. If I didn't sell the houses, I wouldn't have the house, the car, the life. What are you talking about? What are you, crazy? You can't, listen, a broker without an agent is an agent. Because a broker without agents can only sell, and a salesman is an agent. So a broker without an agent is an agent. What are you talking about? What are you, crazy? You're not going to run a brokerage without having agents. All right, so that didn't go that well. Let's say my buddy Fred, though, Fred the franchise owner, again, 38 years old, big house, fast cars, the whole life, the whole gig. He had 10 McDonald's, 5 Subways, 2 H&R Blocks, a Curves gym, and a yogurt land. And I go up to him and I say, Fred, I want to be just like you. I just bought my first Subway in Fort Lauderdale, and I want your advice. But before you give me any advice, I just want you to know I'm not going to recruit anybody this year. What do you think Fred's going to say? No, I mean, really, think about it. What do you think Fred's going to say? He's going to look up at, see if there's cameras. Because he couldn't imagine there's someone this stupid. He's going to think he's on some kind of gotcha show, punked. Because literally, he couldn't imagine someone's this stupid. You're not going to what? What are you going to do? What, make the sandwich, flip the sandwich, bag the sandwich, cash in the sandwich, clean it up 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day? What are you, stupid? You're not going to recruit. What is wrong with you? You can't run a store without hiring people. What is wrong with you? What are you, stupid or something? You're not going to recruit? That's crazy. Now think about that for a second. Because one thing I've learned was no matter what you do in life, people are going to talk trash. Right? You get to a fork in the road. If you take a right, the people on the left talk trash because you took a right. You take a left, the people on the right talk trash because you took a left. And if you stay in the middle, both sides will call you lazy and indecisive. I've realized, listen, either way, you're going to get called crazy. I realized that if I recruited my friends and family here at the bottom of the totem pole, they might call me crazy. But if I didn't recruit, the business owners were going to call me crazy. Either way, someone was going to call me crazy. If I recruited, they'd call me crazy. If I didn't recruit, they'd call me crazy. I had to make a decision. Which one was I going to have call me crazy? I decided they could call me crazy, just pay me the money. Because see, in American business, listen, it doesn't matter what anybody says. In American business, you either recruit or you get recruited. Those are the only options there are. So I wanted to be a part of the what? The recruited. What's the difference between these guys and these? There's one thing. These guys have people working for them, and these guys don't. In American business, you recruit or you get recruited. And see, my friends don't understand that. And so maybe they look at me weird, but it doesn't make it not true. You can tell where you'll be in life. Because, see, and sometimes people come in and they'll say, Primerica, that's that thing where you have to recruit. Absolutely not. Listen, there's a lot of people here that make a six-figure income without a team. Okay, and that's one of the biggest differences between us and some of these other businesses. This is not one of these gigs where you need 1,000 people to make $1. Okay, and I'm not knocking any business, but I can tell you, I was talking to one of the people that made six figures in a business. Do you know how many downlines they had? They just hit 100 grand. 35,000 downlines. They just hit 100 grand for the year. All right, now you can make, so people say, Primerica, is that thing where you have to recruit? Absolutely not. You don't have to recruit to be here. This is a business, just like any other business. Our money comes in through clients. You don't get paid a dime to recruit. But if all you do is get clients, you're a what? You're an agent. And you can make good money. You can make six figures, but you'll never be a business owner. You'll be a self-employed financial planner, which to some, that's totally good. And if that's what you want to, that's totally good. All you got to do is get clients. You know, you want to give thank you cards. You want to do consultations, reviews once a quarter. You're going to, make sure that you're organize a newsletter every quarter. Call them on their birthday type of deal. Really, do it up. Be the guy, right? Be the person. Follow up ideas, investment ideas. Send them, how money works books and do the deal. But if you want to be a broker, listen, recruiting is not a Primerica thing. Recruiting is a broker thing. If you want to be the broker in real estate, you have to recruit agents. If you want to be a broker at the insurance deal, you got to recruit agents. That's a brokerage deal. See, agents sell to clients. Brokers do what? They hire agents. Raise your hand if you'd rather be the broker than the agent. Look around. Look around, guys. People come in and they say, why does Primerica, all they do is talk about recruiting? Look around. Everybody here, no, not everybody. 95% of the people here, they want to be the broker. They don't want to be the agent. And if brokers recruit agents, then what do we got to teach? How to build an agency. We are the only financial company that is going to teach you not just how to be the agent, but how to be the owner of the agency. And there's a difference. There's a difference between being an agent and being the owner of the agency. The day we have 95% of the room that came only to be agents is the day 95% of our training will be about products and services and how to sell. Does that make sense? But as long as 95% of the room wants to learn how to build a business, then 95% of our training will be about how to build a business. And there's only two major categories of building businesses. When you're building a business, two huge categories, and that's build a client base and build a team. Build a client base and build a team. In every business book I've ever read, they say the difference between a good organization and a great organization is a good organization has good personnel and a great organization has great personnel. Building a team is the key attribute of building a good organization. Again, if you go to a party or a B&I group or a network lunch at the chamber and you go over there and you give them a business card. Let's say you're in the real estate business. You give them a card and you say, hey, I sell more houses faster than anybody. You're going to be getting paid like an agent. If you go to that same lunch, you hand them a business card and you say, hey, listen, I'm looking for part-time agents. Why won't you get a part-time career? Why don't you come on, get licensed, make an extra couple $1,000s a month part-time? It'll be awesome. And just in case something happens to your primary career, you'll always have one on standby. You'll get paid like a broker. But if you go to that same Chamber of Commerce and you say, hey, why be an employee when you could be a business owner? Why don't you come work with me? I'll teach you everything it takes to own and operate your own business. You can have your own office. We're going to teach you how to build an organization where you can build an agency, where you can have your own organization that pays you passive income, and you can be the business owner. If that's what you talk about, you're going to get paid like Mr. Remax. See, your pitch decides your pay. And see, once I realized that this is how it went when McDonald's got built, this is how it went when Remax got built, and this is how it went when Primerica got built. The only difference was I had a choice where I wanted to be. I could be here, here, or here, as can you. You can choose which one you want to be. See, when I went to Morgan Stanley, when I went to New York Life, when I went to Merrill Lynch, I didn't have a choice. New York Life never, ever, ever was going to give me ownership. They were never, ever, ever going to let me own and operate my own brokerage. So New York Life wanted me to sell for New York Life. When I came here, I had a chance to be New York Life. Now, think about this, though. New York Life might let you be an agent, and even State Farm might let you own an office. You might, I think State Farm, you have to work there 2 years and you have to pay like, I don't know, 100 grand or something for it, but you can own it. But here's the difference. If you own a State Farm office and you're making a bunch of money, you're making, $500,000 a year, you get your best friend Bob and you say, Bob, listen, you got to get in this State Farm thing, man. It's unbelievable. I'm doing great. I'm making $500,000. You can have your own office. It's great. We have incentive trips. It's unbelievable. And Bob comes in, sets up an office right across town from you, and he has his own office. He comes in, he makes $500,000 a year. Are you going to get paid off of it? Is that fair? I mean, wait a minute. Does State Farm get paid off? Yeah, of course they do. So State Farm gets paid off of it, but you, the person that built them, the person that recruited them, the person that helped train them, doesn't get anything? That's not fair, is it? So again, New York Life might let you be an agent, but that's it. State Farm might let you be a broker, but that's it. The only organization will ever let you be Mr. Remax is Primerica. Think about Mr. Arinder. Mr. Arinder has multiple brokers. We call them RVPs. It really doesn't matter what you call them. RVP, owner, operator of an office, broker. Bill Arinder has hundreds of offices that he's getting paid on, just like Remax has hundreds of offices that they're getting paid on. Mr. Arinder is Mr. Remax. And that's why I'm here, not at New York Life. If you can go to the next slide. All right. See, again, a couple of things that we teach in America, no matter what business you start, whether you started a restaurant, car dealership, clothing line, there's a lot of important things that you have to do no matter what. Okay, you have to get certain licenses and certifications no matter what industry you're in. You have to build and maintain client relationships and client bases. But if there's one thing more important than anything else, it's getting the right business partners. You got to get the right business partners. The fact of life is nothing great will ever be accomplished by any one person. There are no Rambos in American business. You've heard the stories before. 2 heads are better than 1. 3 heads are better than 2. Behind every great man, there's a great woman. These stories aren't made up. They're the fact of life. Let's look at business history. Bill Gates had a business partner named Paul Allen. Steve Jobs had a business partner. The Google boys had each other. And Thomas Edison had 3 partners when he started the company we now know as GE. Well, if the great Thomas Edison didn't build a business by himself, if the great Steve Jobs and Bill Gates didn't build a business by themselves, I know I'm not going to be able to, and I'm pretty sure you're probably not either. So if you're serious about winning an American business, you must have some great business partners that surround you. Over the next couple hours, I want you thinking about the 3 to 10 people in your life that you'd want as partners. The 3 to 10 people in your life that you know that if you had them on your side, you guys would win. Because remember, it's not always the 5 best players that win the basketball game, but it's the 5 players that make the best team that win the basketball game. So think about who you would have if you just started a restaurant. Who would you want as a partner? If you started a car dealership, who would you want as a partner? Think about that and get them involved in this business with a ruthless persistence. Make sure you don't take no for an answer. Go after it. If you were starting a business that you invested $500,000 in, let's say you started a car dealership, and you invested $500,000 in it, and there was somebody you know that was the best car salesman in the world. He sold more cars than anybody in Dallas. And you knew if he was a partner and he was your sales manager and he trained your salesman, you'd have a successful office. You'd have a successful dealership. Would you give up just because he said, I don't think I want to do it? No. You better recruit that person with persistence, with an unwillingness to quit. Let me give an example. You know, my favorite business executive is Steve Jobs. You know, Steve Jobs is, he's just, his business resume is unbelievable, right? He built Apple, and the myth has it that he came up with the real idea. Bill Gates just stole it and marketed it faster. But obviously, he created Apple, which was a great product and a great company. Now, this was a company he founded and he built. Now, get this. As he built it and it was growing, obviously, he had a board of directors, and that board of directors fired him. He got fired from his company. The company he started, the company he founded, the company he built, he got fired. Now, what has Bill Whittle said? When you get rejected, you can either get mad or you can get down. Down is, oh, woe with me. It's not fair. It's not fair. Right? And a lot of people do that. They don't see the sunlight for another 2 weeks. You know, there's a lot of men that if they got fired from their own company, they would have been a drunk derelict for the next 40 years telling anybody that would listen at the bar how they used to be the guy that ran Apple. But that's not what he did. He got fired up. I'll show you. He goes in bed, starts and builds a company called Pixar. He builds this company to be like the premier company. Everybody wanted to be a part of it. It had, it just had everything going well. Good culture, good ideas, cutting edge technology. It had the whole deal. It had Disney scared. It had everybody. And Apple wanted to get into bed with Pixar. Pixar said, we'll think about it. And they came back, said, sure, we can get in bed. Only under one condition. Our CEO becomes the new CEO of the new formed company. Steve Jobs regains his position. Not because he begged for it, but because his business maneuvers made it possible. Got his job back. Not to mention, he beat cancer along the way. Now, my favorite story about Steve Jobs was he came back to Apple, and that's when Apple went on the run. I mean, the last 10 years, Apple's been the belle of the ball. It's been the top, it's the number one talked about company on Wall Street. I mean, Apple is the deal, right? And that's because Steve Jobs came back and he was thinking of, iPad, iPhone, iTouch, this, that, iTunes, what, you know what I mean? And so he came back and he went on a huge run of a lot of good products. But my favorite story is when he came back, he needed somebody to help him. He needed a partner. And when he was thinking about who he needed, he thought of a guy named John Scully. I need John Scully. And they said, you're not going to get John Scully. John Scully is the president and CEO of PepsiCo. PepsiCo, which is comprised of Frito-Lay, a multi-billion-dollar snack company, and Pepsi, a multi-billion-dollar soda company combined. So it's a multi-international corporation. It's in 100 different countries, 100 billions. And I'm sure the CEO president is making quite a bit of money, right? So John Scully is running a very, very important corporation. He's making a lot of money. Steve Jobs comes up to Scully and says, hey, I want you an Apple. Scully goes, thanks, but no thanks. Steve Jobs says, please. Scully says, no. Pretty please, no. So, Steve Jobs asked him 100 times, and 100 times John Scully says no. Steve Jobs sends him flowers, sends him an email, sends him a text message. I don't know if there was text message back then, but if there was text message, he would have sent it, I promise. He sent emails, he sent texts, he sent flowers. I need you to come work. You got to come work, man. We need you in here. You got to come work. 100 more times Steve Jobs asked Scully, and 100 more times Scully says no. Steve Jobs asked him again and again. He says no. He gets his wife to ask his wife, and they said no. He courts them. He buys them things, buys them cars. Scully says no. Most people would have quit, but this wasn't most people. This was a guy that beat cancer and a guy that beat the board of directors at Apple. This wasn't an average guy. So he kept going. 100 more times he asked, 100 more times he said no. He did everything and anything he could to get John Scully, because he knew if we got John Scully, we would go to the top for sure, nonstop to the top. He was the partner he was looking for, the teammate that was going to complete the team. And I know if he's going to complete the team, I'm not going to let him not do this. This is what he's destined for. This is what he's got to do. This is how we're going to create a legacy. He asked him 100 more times, 100 more times. Scully says no. 10,000 times he asked, 10,000 times he says no. Finally, they're at a fundraiser in New York, both in a tuxedo. John Scully's drinking whiskey. Steve Jobs is scotch. Steve Jobs comes up behind John Scully and he says, John Scully, are you going to sell sugar water for the rest of your life, or are you going to come with me and change the world? And the next day, Scully resigns as president of PepsiCo and goes to Apple. And the rest is history. Apple went on one of the greatest runs in American business history and is continuing to do so, because one man didn't take no for an answer. If there's somebody or something that you want, don't take no for an answer. Your family's too important. This country's too important. This company's too important for you to take a no just because someone says it. You're in control of your own fate. You're the master of your own soul. You are the controller of the destiny. No one said it'd be easy. They just said it would be worth it. And you know what I think to most people? Are you going to continue making excuses, or are you going to come with me and change the world? Are you going to continue recruiting 4, 5, 6 people, or are you going to come with me and change the world? Are you going to continue being average and ordinary, or are you going to come with me and change the world? Primerica is on a mission to change the world. You know it and I know it. The question is, are you going to keep sitting there, or are you going to come with me and change the world? We'll see you at the top.